Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all new Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reid, and today we have kind of a 2-for-1 deal, which is always great to have on the show. It's always fun. We have the Kashouties with us. Um, they are the founders of Hiram and Solomon Cigars. They've never been on Deep Cuts before. So, the 4 years that we've been doing this, they're new to the show. So we get to learn all about them and their brand. And I'm looking forward to learning all about them and their experiences in this crazy industry that we're all in. So, welcome to the show.
Hi, Antoine. Nice to meet
Hello,
you.
Antoine. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us at on the show for the first time. Yes, so we're new to the show, but not new to the industry. Uh, this will be in January. We'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Thank you for
Yeah.
having us.
And I've always seen you at the different trade shows. So, you've always been a big, I would say, appeal to the industry. Obviously, you're doing something right to be around, to say you can be around for a decade in this industry or even 2 or 3 years in this industry is to me, a big accomplishment. So, congratulations on that.
Indeed. Indeed.
I'm sure you have stories and battle scars and everything to share. So,
Few
thank you.
books, few books can be filled with the stories, but then again, it's good to have the experience. And every time somebody's uh, in the future, they're planning to do any kind of business in the cigar industry. I always tell them it's not a business; it's a whole new lifestyle. It's a journey. You never go back. It's like cult, once you're in the cult of cigar and habano and tobacco, and it's a cult. You're in it.
It
That's it.
sucks you in.
It takes you all, and that's
Yeah.
it. Your friend, your family, everybody becomes part of this, literally. And you lose few friends who do not appreciate the whole lifestyle, but it's a
But
beautiful.
you'll gain many more
You gain,
also.
yeah, the whole industry at the end of the day has a very pleasant relationship, to say a few of this relationship. Yes, indeed.
So we always start off with an icebreaker before we get into the nitty gritty of the business. So I try to think of some interesting icebreaker questions. So for you all, I thought the question would be, if you had the ability to travel through time, would you travel to the past or would you travel to the future?
Definitely I would travel to the future. Definitely. The past is past already. We started it. To the future. Never the past. Past is behind us. The future is today. That's how I see it. Because I'm not sure I'm going to live tomorrow. So my future is right now, talking to you, Antoine, and of course, whoever is listening to this conversation. Yeah, the future for me, the future is today, never the
I
past.
mean, since we, as a couple, you travel to the future, I travel to the past, and then we'll go back to present, and we'll fix and we'll plan.
I
Tag
know.
team, tag team it. Well, thank you. So I think that kind of gets us into the mood of this interview. Obviously,
Good question, though.
yes,
Indeed.
obviously we're. This is a little different because you all are a couple. You work together. You plan stuff together. So I'm sure that's a slightly different dynamic in the industry. There's
We plan the
some other.
future, Antoine. We plan the future together, indeed.
I think
Yeah.
that
So
question, even that's going to trigger some
No,
conversation
we're going
after
to
the
talk a
show
lot
for sure.
about this show.
It's going to trigger some conversation and some thinking after. It's like,
so I guess a good. I've watched some of your other interviews, and I've seen that most of them kind of go in the same direction, where lots of people start talking about Masonic stuff and what is it, what's this, what's that, and and like I said, I watched a couple different interviews today, and I was like, wow, this is like going on. This is like a big chunk of the interview. So I wanted to do it a little bit differently and just say,
fine.
what's the number one question that you all get, and what's your response to it, so we can get that out of the way now and not spend 30 minutes.
The number one question, what's the link or what's the association to the Freemasons? Definitely, that's the number one question. Always, before any blend, before anything, where, who, why, before all that, what's the relationship between your cigars and the
Yeah.
Freemasons?
why do we have the symbol on
Yeah,
our cigar, and what's the
mainly
relation, and
masonically.
they
Yeah.
want to understand more why.
And they want to also, a lot of them would be Masons themselves. They just want to acknowledge or accept it because, like everybody knows,
Yeah,
they in the beginning everybody thought that this
yeah,
could be some kind of
it,
parasite, some kind of people
yeah.
tagging onto a certain fraternity
Yeah,
or
it's one of these
association.
questions that comes from both sides. As far as like Masons, they ask the same question because they want to know if we are doing it for the right reasons. And then for non-Masons, some out of fear, some out of respect, some out of disrespect, and
Some out of
some out of ignorance.
ignorance, yeah.
And they want to know. But the same question will be asked on both ways. Definitely two
That's
separate answers.
definitely top three
But yeah,
questions. It's always
yeah,
related to the Masons.
good.
Well, I'm sure we'll touch on it, but I hope not to. Of course, like I said, because I've watched other interviews and I'm like, wow, it's like dominating the question. It's more about that than the
I would
product.
say 60 to 70% probably of interviews, magazines, podcast, live interview, everything. It's
But
about that relation
as
and
you know,
stuff.
Antoine, everybody always wants to know what's the story and the history behind this brand to start with, as a brand, as a
Hmm.
trademark. And I guess our story is the Freemasons, regardless. And then, of course, after the Freemasons as a base, we started expanding into different activities. But somehow it's all related to the Freemasons. So the story behind Hiram and Solomon Cigars, from the name to the logo to the beginning of the history of Hiram and Solomon, is still the Freemasons, which we, of course, are very proud, extremely proud, being acknowledged and endorsed by a fraternity. And of course, my husband being a Freemason, that's one thing, but you being accepted as a human being, as a person, as a brother is one thing, but the brand making its way to the Freemasons, you can only last as much, but nobody will smoke a non-good cigar or an unpleasant experience of a cigar. Yeah, they would smoke it one, two, three times as a fraternity. How do you say it?
Support.
Support. But then at some point they're gonna go, all right, this is not a good cigar, so I'll buy something else. I did support enough. Yeah.
So I think what you just said something that I feel like is a good place to start with it, which is how did you two meet and like get into this cigar hobby together? Because a lot of times,
Mm.
at least in the U.S., I don't know if it's up in other countries, but you hear a lot of like the husband is into cigars, the wife isn't, or the wife is into cigars, and the husband's out doing other stuff while she's at the lounge and stuff. So it's not always like a thing that couples do together, and but as long as I've known you all in the industry, it's like you all are like joint at the hip. You're doing this stuff together. You're
Right.
equal parts of this company. So how did you get to like? How did you meet? How did you get together?
I will respond, but before going to how did we meet, I think somehow it's kind of a myth that people enjoy to say, "Oh, my wife doesn't like to smoke. My girlfriend, my fiance, they always like that little tease." But at the same time, most men play. We go to play to see tournaments, right?
Mhm.
Probably there will be 5 ladies and 150 men. Same for the poker night, same for different activities that women do, men don't participate, and vice versa. But the cigar, I think they like this kind of, my wife doesn't smoke, he's annoyed. I don't think he's that much annoyed, and vice versa.
Mhm.
I think they enjoy that me time. Like we go to our friend's house, oh, this is my corner.
All right.
Did you try to create a corner to yourself and your wife who doesn't like it? No, but they like this whole thing about like cat and mouse thing. I don't like, my wife doesn't like, whatever. Now, how did we meet? We met on, I've been a smoker before. Fouad was smoking way before me. I've been smoking for around 27, 28 years. And that's
Wow.
much, yeah. In 1997, my first cigar. Going back before that, my favorite smell of all times were always the tobacco. Always, always. I used to open my father's boxes, cigar boxes, and literally travel in a world of a twirl of senses and beauty of the tobacco smell and the box smell and all that. In 97, I started smoking my first cigar. I was 26. And then way later, I was living in London, so I was smoking mainly Cuban. As you know, back then, this was like I met him 5 years ago. I mean, we've been married for 5 years now. So when I met him, I was solely smoking Cuban. And the only non-Cuban that I've ever smoked was Davidoff, to be honest, because in London it was kind of tolerated since people were very snobbish about Cuban and non-Cuban. Anything non-Cuban was gas station cigar in London. Things have changed now. So I was on Instagram. I didn't work in the cigar industry, but I was on Instagram, and friends of mine were encouraging me to post cigars. But I used to just take a picture of my hand with the cigar in it, nothing more. One day I commented on a friend, mutual friend, who happened to be a Freemason. He posted something about Hiram and Solomon. Fuad started this before me. And Fuad saw the comment, and he thought that was quite goofy. And he texted me to see if I'm an influencer in England to send me cigars so I can promote them, since most of my Instagram pictures were this. Long
Hmm.
story short, I'm really trying to make this short because in between the time he sent the message and I responded were quite some time. Long story short, on Instagram we met. He said, "Would you like to come to?" He was in Florida for the Black Smoke. I said, "No. If you would like to meet me, come to London." Next morning, I wake up, I see a screenshot of his ticket, and then a few days later, he was in England.
Oh
And
wow.
we go. And since when we're together, and it
and
didn't take much. I moved to the States.
and we were inseparable since
Inseparable
then.
since then.
And
Yeah, yeah. We didn't really think about it, how far this thing will
Romy
take
come
us.
from financial background, so
Very boring background. So
yeah,
financial
but
advice.
still come with the experience of the financial and all that stuff.
But yeah,
And
with
I
all the
started
passion.
cigar 5 years prior to that. But when she became part of Hiram and Solomon. She took it to the definitely to the next level, big time, and with her connections and with her sense of taste and stuff like this, definitely took the cigars also to another level, and that proved
Seems
right
like I have a good palate, apparently.
with the revival cigar that she created it from zero. That was picked number one boutique cigar from Cigar Lover magazine in Switzerland. So she brought a lot to the company that I created 5 years prior to that, but she brought
Yeah.
it. And since then, we run together, everything we do together. We
It was
travel
kind of fate
together.
and destiny, really. When
Uh,
I moved to the States, and then we got married, and boom, COVID started. These decisions during COVID lockdown, the factories are closing back in the factories everywhere in the world, actually, and in the United States. And we had to put an order, and we're sitting next to each other. This is our future. We're investing ourselves financially, physically, mentally. And it was, remember, 2 days, 2 weeks, it's been going on. So
Hmm.
since then the decision was to be made, and we it's like me, myself, and I, and Fuad is me, myself, and I. At the end of the day, both of us sitting deciding, are we going to do it? And that's when I felt like this is a responsibility. If I say yes, that's it. I'm quitting everything. And that's what happened. It was the decision: transfer the money, make the cigars, continue making the cigars, because, you needed to send the money in advance, way in advance, not knowing what's going to happen next. This is happening in February, March. The cigars were supposed to come sometime between June, July. Of course, we received the cigars a year later. The money is there, everything is there, but we knew this is something we wanted to do, Antoine. It was a big decision, and our couple, as strong as it is, our love for the cigar is as strong as we have for each other, the love we have for each other. It's like a baby. We decided to, how do you call it? Not to resuscitate. It's just a newborn baby, and you don't know NICU, or let the baby die, or you don't know. It's just a poorly born situation, and we made
Premature.
it premature. And
Hmm.
again, like the hit of the COVID was a big decision making moment for the industry, for everyone, I guess, especially boutique cigar people, not just like the big industry people.
So I'm interested with Romy, especially you coming into the industry, and you know, I think it's gotten a little bit better, maybe with how the industry handles women.
Hmm.
But when I first got into the industry in 2010, women were part of the industry, of course, and but the ones that were working at companies were somewhat behind the scenes,
That's right.
and you would get magazines, the top magazines in the industry, and the women were just objects in those
Hmm.
things. They weren't really part of the craft. It's almost like they were like cigar holders, fancy cigar holders in some way, and just supposed like to pull you in. So as you two were working together to create this brand, like how did you approach that to make it more modern, I would say, and less
Yeah,
sexist?
I looked at it the same way the car industry, half drivers are women, right? In the world.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You look at the magazine, the woman is just a picture. A beautiful woman is a picture. And it's never showing just a rough man driving the car, which is the case of most of the trucks, let's say in the United States. You never see that, but you never see anything but a beautiful woman exposing the car in every way or any shape or
But
any
never
color, but
driving it.
never driving the car really. And and same way I approach it, if I'm talking as a business here, you look at it the same way, the very same way. Even men's cologne most of the time used to be given to a woman, and the ad was the woman. If you remember the commercials on TV, it was the woman who liked it, who liked the man because he's using that specific cologne. The same way I looked at it this way to the industry. And again, most of the women that I've met in the industry, in whether they were cigar makers or just the factories. You go to the factory, there is the whole amount of ladies working there, making their living
Mm-hmm.
out there. And I think social media and the expansion of the what they call the new world cigar created this acknowledgement of the real makers of cigars in the world, regardless where the money is coming from. If these ladies were not rolling or working in the factories, there would be no cigars. Clearly, the Cuban industry, never ever anybody had any clue what's going on behind the factories. It's still women, of course, but nobody knew about it. Now, coming to the smokers part, there is a big gap between the American and the non-American social life, I would say.
Culture.
Culture in the smoking culture, right? And sometimes I get asked the question, like, isn't it like stereotyping? Going to a place, men do not appreciate women. In my experience, 5 years here, we do events practically, especially at some point, we were just everywhere in the United States, east, west, north, midwest. You don't know how many events were Masonic events where ladies are not supposed to be in the lodge, but very much welcomed outside the lodge in the private events or inside the lodge with the open public events. So that was very easy to understand that, wait a minute, I have myself just understood the case that the women in this industry are very much welcome in the whole social life of cigar smoker. Not one time I've been approached by an unpleasant person coming to me for whatever reason or criticizing my cigar smoking or other ladies either. And on the social media, you see, read the comments. People always encourage ladies smoking. Of course, if she's respectful, she's going to get the respect. And if not, that's what she wants, probably. We cannot change everybody's image and stereotype. If she wants to show the cigar in a decent way, with her smoking in a decent way, she will get all the beautiful comments and appreciation. And if not, she's going to get what she's posting for.
Yeah, I think the last 10 years, ladies, cigar smoker ladies, realize that if they're not going to go out and present themselves in the right way, they're not going to get that respect, and they're not going to get, and they did, and they were very, I believe they were very well accepted, and they are part of the cigar culture right now.
Mhm.
As Rami said, it's more in the United States than the rest of the world, but you'll see it now. I mean, especially through social media. You start seeing it in Europe, you start seeing it in the Far East, even in the Middle East, which is probably a taboo for women to have
To smoke.
to smoke, even though they smoke the hookah, they smoke cigarette and everything.
Shisha, yeah.
But the cigar itself, being looked at it as the main manly things to do. Uh, Women, I think they challenged themselves and they went out in a classy way and said, "We are here. we are smokers, and we are
And your business, that's
we
it.
and we respect yourself, and you respect us, we respect you, and I think it worked out very well. I don't see in cigar lounges women being treated less than they deserve. But same thing that goes anywhere. If there is somebody prejudiced over there, that could be in the cigar lounge, that could be in a bar, that could be in at the mechanic shop, that could be anywhere.
Mhm.
So I think that stereotype, it's broken, and
The minute it started in the United States, the
yeah,
social media kind of broke that image of, hey, only women cannot smoke and men can smoke.
we go to
Of
some
course.
cigar lounges right now. Probably half of them are women, and they
Mhm.
said, and funny story. I mean, even about 2 years ago, when we went to a cigar lounge, went to a cigar lounge in North Jersey.
I was going to
Uh,
say that for the anecdote. He has to tell you the
yeah,
story.
and
Don't mention the
no, no, no,
nationality,
I'm
though.
not gonna mention it. So it was myself, my wife, and her friend,
My lady
my
friend,
lady
my
friend,
girlfriend.
right? So two women, myself. So they went, we sat in the lounge. They said, go pick up cigars for us. So I went to pick up cigars, and I asked the gentleman who was there, I said, give me something new for me, medium, but I want to try something new. And I always do that. I want to try something new. So he gave me a medium cigar, and I smoked. I said, I want two cigars for the ladies. The guy picked up one of these cherries and coffee, and he goes, here. I said, no, 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 you don't understand. I want full body for the ladies. I want medium for me. Those are two
He had,
full body ladies. And he was looking at me as like, am I joking or
okay, the guy comes from a culture. First of all, he's not American. Let's do that. He's new in the States, and he comes from a culture where very macho and very chauvinistic kind of approach is happens to against women in general. So in general, it doesn't have to be the cigar. I'm sure the same man, if a lady is driving a motorbike or she's on in a BMW, he will be definitely offended. So he was when he was telling me, I said, I'm not surprised. Let's carry on. Let's smoke the cigars. But I mean, he was kind of feminist at that moment. Like, why would you even, stereotype that she wants the cherry and her
I
friend
think
wants
that
the
changed his mind.
chocolate?
I don't believe
I
he
think
asked
so.
that question ever again
Yeah,
to
I don't
anyone
think he ever
anymore.
asked the question again.
It's funny because I was recently at a cigar lounge, and we were all getting cigars, and it was a small space, so you could, only like two people could fit in a humidor at a time. And so like we were going in kind of groups getting cigars, and there was a woman in our group who was just getting into cigar smoking, so she didn't really know what she liked and whatever. And it was one of those things where obviously we were like, oh yeah, just go, find something good in the humidor or whatever. And like she went with a group of other women, and they came back and they had like a decent like cigars, but she came back specifically with a flavored like you said, like a cherry something. And I was like, oh, you got stuck with that. I was like, I felt bad because I was just like, she didn't enjoy it at all. And she was like, oh, it's kind of, she's like, I like the way your cigar smells and seems like that. And I was like, yeah, I was like, you, I don't understand this 2024, and still we have some, people who think, oh, a woman, they're going to want something flavored or something that smells,
Mhm.
good like that. So I do think we have to continue to kind of politely, in some
Yeah,
cases,
that's exactly.
educate the retailers to saying like, don't assume that, like you said, don't. There's some men that I like really mild cigars. Like every now and then I could do a strong cigar, but I'm usually like, especially like on the
Yeah,
weekends,
absolutely.
like
It's a
like
palate.
I want, yeah.
Absolutely. I know some rough truck drivers that they smoke the cherry and the coffee and the
Mhm.
java and stuff like this. And,
Same as
and there's nothing wrong.
wine.
If that's your favorite, that's your favorite.
Same as wine.
Yeah.
You never get surprised if a woman asks for a pomme roll or asks for a, I don't know, for a syrah, and you'll never get surprised why she said, "Give me a glass of pomme roll," versus another man sitting there, "Give me a glass of merlot." Nobody says, "Oh, you're a man. You don't drink merlot." Merlot is like, to me, it's like a water. I'd rather not have merlot whatsoever. My palate clashes highly with the merlot. you know.
Hmm.
But nobody discusses or kind of goes
No, no,
around this
because mainly
subject.
the cigar, it's
Same
the
thing for the
mainly thing. Yeah.
cigar. Mainly is like they always think you have to be tough and rough to smoke a full body. It's nothing to do with it. It's how you eat, your palate, how alkaline is your palate, what you drink, and on and on and on. It's another world. Same as the wine world, same as the whiskey world. You know, I hate smoky. I cannot smell anything smoky in my drinks, right? Does it make me more or less? Most women love smoky whiskey, for instance. You see,
Hmm.
but nobody discusses that. But cigar, I also would encourage women if they are smoking just as a first time and not interested to go to carry on. I would always ask them if you're like kind of repelled or you don't really like the smell of cigar, the tobacco purely, try something with some flavor, like barely there, and
Hmm.
usually they enjoy it. Now, a lot of ladies who's never smoked before, I can tell now. I can really tell if the woman will love it or will hate it. So when they ask me what would you suggest, but I love the whole smoke, the smell, and I immediately give her a medium. I don't even give her a mild cigar.
No, no.
I can
I
tell
believe woman has more complex
palates.
the
Yeah,
palates than men, and that's probably through all the generations after generations of them being cooking and doing all the
perfume
cooking and the
also.
perfumes and all that
Our
stuff.
perfume
So I believe
blinds
they
you
are
out,
more engineered with the more complex palate than we are,
right?
than men are.
Yes,
Don't
definitely.
you think, like most of the time, we're still, all right, it's not a stereotype here, but if you ask 100 people here who's cooking at home, it's probably 85% is going to tell you the lady smoke is keep cooking at home
Yeah.
if they're eating
But
at
even
home.
I'm talking like
So that
generations,
blind,
you know,
not blinds only, that
since
kind
the
of
existence.
makes your nose a little stronger and your palate a little more how it's a bold, same as a perfume, right? We wear perfume almost every day. Most ladies wear perfume, not every man wears cologne. If ever they do, they would stick to one cologne, poor thing, all their lives, or two or three, versus women, they would just go to the perfume store and you will understand a little corner for poor men, you guys, and then you have the whole Sephora or the whole mall, the whole first level is women's
Yeah, but
perfume.
most of women will can tell what's the perfume on that they smell on somebody else. Men will know probably it's nice or it's not nice. Whether I like that perfume or I don't like it, we cannot
Differentiate.
differentiate whether
Yeah,
it's this,
true.
yeah, X, Y, or Z. Most women can tell you exactly she or he is wearing this. So and that's translate to cigars also definitely. Hopefully that answered your question.
So with your yes, it that totally did. And with your cigar brand, when I was doing my research on you all, I saw that you actually have a charity or cause attached to the brand. So it's not like you're just doing this cigar just for kicks. Like it has a purpose. So
Right.
could you talk about that purpose? Because I think that's a super important thing. Because when the outside world kind of looks at the cigar industry, they just kind of see they think big tobacco trying to get people to start smoking just to start
No,
smoking. But
Antoine,
there are some good companies out there doing good.
yeah, yeah, Antoine, from the beginning, this cigar started. The idea was not to create a cigar company; it was to create a cigar for charity, that we can collect money by selling the cigars for charity. And this, I had
For a lodge.
no for a Masonic lodge, and I had no prior experience in tobacco business or cigars business, beside me smoking right now for about 42 years. So I know what I like when cigar and stuff like this, but the idea was not a cigar company, as to say. It was more, let's do something that we can bring money for charity. And that's how the company started. And that's how and from there, it exploded beyond our belief or imagination that this company can get there in 2 3 years, where other company took them 10 or 15 years to be. And this is with the I heard that from many big brand companies saying, you accomplished in 5-6 years that it took us 15-20 years to do. Congratulations, continue the good work. And me hearing this from I would call it the giants in the cigar
I mean,
industry,
Carlito
or
is
the
one of them. I have to mention. I appreciate that
so
man
so
so highly.
hearing that from those legends,
Yeah.
for me it was a big award for me to continue, and
Achievement. It's an
it's an
achievement.
achievement to
One of
continue.
one.
And with that, we kept the charity aspect of the company going and getting bigger even. So every cigar we create, every size that we create, there's a charity tied to it. And
And the target for our company eventually, since we have another business going on, so we want to make it one day or another. I mean, pretty soon, hopefully. Hopefully, we're crossing fingers on that. And that's the reason why we have many investors interested in the company. But our main hand-picking situation is to find that investor who will understand that the target eventually for this cigar is to create, I mean, philanthropic aspect of a charity and business. I mean, that's
yes,
the
I
whole
mean,
thing.
making a
Eventually,
profit
that's
from
going
the
to go.
cigar business, absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. We're definitely gonna look for it. Same with the investors. But as Romy mentioned, we refused a couple of investors that they did not see the charitable part of this company, and they didn't appreciate it or understand it. Why? So they were not the right fit for us. The right fit for us, there will be a person or a company that understand that aspect of the charity, and at the same time creating the best cigar that we can create, that appeals to most of the smokers. I will not say all the smokers because that's impossible. So most of the smokers, and have a variety that appeals to most of it.
I mean, in 10 years, we have over 14 or 16 blends in the market now. That's a big achievement. All of them, each and every one has a certain charity behind it. Some of them have direct links, like the Shriners. I don't know. I'm sure you're familiar with the Shriners hospitals, and the Shriners are a division, subdivision of Masons. So you're only a Shriner if you are a Freemason. So the Shriners, we just went to the convention in Reno not like a month and a half ago, 6 weeks ago, and we even have accessories. So everything, every time there's a cigar event that is made for the Masons or in a lodge or non-Masons, by the way, we have, but we try to focus on at least one part because we cannot, how do you say, pursue or find who is behind which charity they are asking. So for our size, I believe for the size of the company or for our age, we're still puppies.
But one of our biggest charity that we did was the Cigar for Warriors.
Yeah,
Actually, we
that's
were
outside the
yeah,
Masons.
we were the first company that teamed up with the Cigar for Warriors, and we put their seal on the cigar, and they called it, they wanted to call it "Live to Serve," which served perfectly the purpose of their existence. And since we appreciate our definitely armed forces, and we appreciate their defending our freedoms and stuff, so we created a cigar that technically
100% of the
100%
proceeds
of the
went.
proceeds went to the Cigar for Warriors. And the lucky part after that, that a lot of other companies, when they saw we were the first company, so many other companies behind after us came and offered to do the same thing for Cigar for Warriors. So we were the pioneering of that program in the industry that been existing
It's a good jealousy, I
since
would say. Yeah.
1960 or 1950s and stuff like this. So
So, what was your first release for your company, and what was the process like bringing that cigar to market? Because I'm sure it was a learning curve.
Okay, big
yeah,
time.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the first release, since again, I was a Mason, and I wanted something to tie to the Masons. Uh, I went what we called it the first 3 degree of the Mason. So anybody who want to become a Freemason has to go through 3 degrees, which is the Enter Apprentice, Fellowcraft, and the Master Mason. So Enter Apprentice is the first degree, Fellowcraft the second degree, and Master Mason. Once you finish those 3 degrees, you are a fully pledged Freemason. So we created the first 3 cigars, the mild, the medium, and the full body. The mild is the Enter Apprentice, the medium is the Fellowcraft, the second degree, and the Master Mason is the full body. So that were the first 3 cigars that we created with the 3 mild, medium, full body. and it was only again for the brothers to buy it from the lodge. And we had some small website that people can buy through it, but directly to brothers. Again, there was no intention to sell these cigars to anyone until we start getting phone calls from cigar lounges and saying, "We heard about this cigar. How can we get it?" And
Okay,
a
one
lot of
thing led to
one
another.
thing led to the other. We are over 860 cigar lounges in the United States in 30 countries. More countries are coming, but we're holding until we have enough
Production, yeah.
production that we can supply all of it without having any back orders from anyone,
Hmm.
because our expansion is bigger than we can expect or we can handle at this moment. So that's how it started, and that's how we continued. Well, a lot of mistakes were made.
Of course.
We learned from it. We continued, and every time I hear, as Romir mentioned before, every time we hear a new startup cigar company that they will approach us asking for advice, I will pass those mistakes to them without hesitation, because if I made it, I don't want you to make those mistakes. Now I will tell you about these mistakes, whether you take it and that to your heart and try to avoid them. It's up to you, but those are costly mistakes, unexperienced mistakes, as I said, but we learned and we continue, and here we are.
What were one of those mistakes, if you don't mind sharing?
Not knowing where to get the cigars from, the pricing of the cigars,
It was
uh,
mainly the macro of it, yes.
we were paying for cigars four times that the cigar really we can get from the real source. Aging the cigars the proper way. Uh, those are the size of the box. Those are like they're small stuff,
The
but they
price of the
eventually
box.
the price of the box, because we were direct to the brothers, so our pricing were different, not knowing what the pricing for the
All right.
retail is. So our first cigars that we sold to cigar lounges were the price that we technically like when we first started. Our cigars were $20 because we sold it to the cigar lounges for $10, not knowing, because we were buying it for $6 7. So not knowing that these are the small figures that we learned, and
The margin was tiny, of
there was
course.
no margin for us
Literally,
much, but
yeah.
Mhm.
we were paying much for it, and that's how we learned.
You
And we
learn, you learn, because we've never been in the industry itself, and like the cigar companies, most of them they work with one or two or their own factories, and then the boxes also come from either their own or one company that does all the boxes for that specific one. So it was a big journey to start with, and then moving from one factory to the other factory and finding proper outlets also even in the United States, dealing with the sales force. It's hard to create your team. It's very difficult, and
I mean,
and
with the
yeah.
expansion came a lot of issues, definitely. Salespeople,
Mhm.
enough inventory. With the enough inventory, you need enough finances to cover those inventory. You need inventory sitting that it's aging. You need accessories that to brand also and stuff like that. So it was a whole different ball game for us. I do come from she comes from a financial business. I come from the retail side of the business, from convenience store and gas stations. So the retail part I understood, the finance part she understood. So combined together, thankfully, we
We're
tried.
trying to master it somehow.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of this industry is that there's no like manual that you can just go and buy and say, okay, this is everything I need to
Mhm.
know for this industry. It seems like it's a lot of trial and error from the stories that we've heard here on Deep Cuts and just in the industry in general. It's like you have to really get to that part where you're doing stuff on your own, but at the same time you're finding different people and companies to ask, what am I doing? and,
Yeah,
and what am I doing wrong? Like, what am I getting wrong about this? And not being ashamed to share. Because I think a lot of companies are
it's
willing to
quite
share
a
that
thrill.
information,
Well,
but
I'll
yeah.
share a small story also with you. At one of our PCA, if I'm not mistaken, it was right before COVID. Uh, I walked to Nick Perdomo's booth, and
Mhm.
I introduced myself, and he said, "Yes, I know you from the Zoom meetings because we were in a couple of Zoom meetings before that and stuff." He said, "Where is your booth?" So he walked with me. Nick Perdomo walked with me to the booth, and he looked. I said, "Any advice?" He said, "Yes." He said, "Change your boxes, the box sizes, change the way your box looks."
Oh, he even
He
told
took
us
it.
to do the
Yeah, the flub on it and stuff like that. So he was not afraid of sharing his experience with that. He graciously offered me his
very precious
advice
advice.
that he did not need to do that.
Mhm.
So just a small example,
Or
right?
Carlito, how he came. He comes every year. Carlito Fuente,
Carlito
the
makes sure every year he stops by the booth and
he stops by everyone's booth. The guy has such a passion for the industry. It's not an industry for him. It's cigars, let's say. It's just this, the element of cigar.
exactly. Yeah.
And the guy goes around every cigar booth if he can, congratulates everybody for the year, for the participation. And as much as he can really give the compliments, he probably maybe didn't smoke everybody's cigar, but he loves the love people put and the passion put to be in this social and yeah,
So the same way these
giants.
legends,
Yes.
giants offered me their advice, I offer my advice to the smaller companies or to whomever come and ask, technically.
Yeah. Oh, we don't come also from a cigar background, don't forget. Well, most of these legends come from the whole
Generations.
generation
Yeah.
of
Mhm.
advisory board in their in the house coming. It's a homemade how do you call economy
Yeah.
itself. It's never coming from a book how to create a cigar brand. It does you don't find that book. You can find a book about how to
No.
set up anything. And don't forget also one of the major issues in the industry, I would say the banks will never give you money to start a tobacco business. That's a big issue, I'd say. That's probably the biggest fear and the
Yeah.
biggest problem,
They're always afraid of what's the FDA is going to do next
Or
to
Mhm.
even
ban what.
they don't support tobacco
And
in
yeah,
general. Today we have a big war going on for the freedom of smoking or doing cigar industry, right? So that's a big thing also to tackle. You're starting with your own money that in the beginning you wouldn't see it, but it will definitely siphon or drain all your
finances,
finances.
energy, and everything.
Yeah, that's an important matter in the industry also.
I know that there's some companies that find having their own factory is a big deal and kind of helps them with production because they don't have to wait on anyone. Do you all have any aspirations of ever having your own factory? Or are you okay work? I think you work with Placencia.
We worked with Presencia for many years. Then we moved to Dominican Republic to PDR factory with Abe Flores. And yes, we do have aspiration eventually to own our own factory when the time is right and the finances are right. I do see some small companies that they have their own small factories, and I look at what they do and stuff like this, but I see how limited they are with the tobacco that they can choose for their own cigars,
You can
because
only buy as much.
you can only buy this much and stuff like this. Your production is limited to 10,000, 20 to 30,000 cigars, so you're not buying pallets of stuff like this, of rare tobacco, I would say. But when you go to a bigger factory like Plasencia or Oliva or
Or
the
Blanco, Hochi Blanco, yeah.
Blanco or Hochi Blanco or PDR or those stuff, they have the reach for every tobacco that you can dream of. Yes, you will paying a little more, but you have the experienced people there at this moment, at our stage right now. I I'm not ready. We are not ready for
Mhm.
the cigar factory itself for those main reasons. Uh, some of our cigars has Paraguayan tobacco in it. Not many factory, whether in Dominican or Nicaragua or Honduras or Mexico, have the Paraguayan tobacco. Only very few company has that. We use very aged tobacco. We don't use young tobacco on all our cigars. We make sure that they are double fermented. These come in the companies right now. that they are experienced in doing these stuff, that they have the reach to get these tobacco.
Mhm.
And so at this moment and the very near future, definitely the the factory is not in sight. It is in the plan. It is the future, but not the near future.
So we talked about your first release, and I think this kind of goes back to our first question about past, future. But tell us about the latest release and like what was the inspiration behind the latest release from your company.
See, Antoine, now every cigar that we have has a name that it is tied somehow to the Masonic fraternity. And with that, we choose the blend according to the name and the
The
purpose of
motto.
that cigar and the motto behind it. Our latest release is a cigar. I don't.
The heart and soul.
Oh, you have it here.
Yeah.
It's called the Heart and Soul. So you see, this is designed for the Grand Master of New Jersey for his own charity, and and we do many of these Grand Lodges cigars that we sell, and the money goes to their charity. So this is the last release. It's called Heart and Soul because the motto for the Grand Master was "We are all in heart and soul." Prior to this was the Revival and the Coramus. The Coramus
No, it
technical.
was the revival, right?
No, 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 I'm talking about
Oh,
like
series.
the series. Uh, the picking of the name Kuramus. Kuramus in Latin means we care for each other. It's from the word to cure, to heal, to help. So the motto of the Grand Master was uh, to care for each other. We all here to care for each other. So that's why he created that cigar, and we created it as a full body because when you care, you have to care with all your soul, with your heart and soul. You have to care. You have to be all in to help, to cure,
That
the
one is a
stuff like this.
Pennsylvania broadleaf. Again, like
So
very, very difficult tobacco to deal with. It overpowers the filler, the binder. It kind of has a very specific
yeah.
personality.
So every cigar has the choosing of the tobacco,
The blend
the
itself.
blend
Yeah.
itself, how many kind of tobacco, it all ties up to the name, specifically to the name, and that's how we choose it.
So what are your kind of future plans for Hiram and Solomon? Because I asked that because
Mhm.
right now in the industry we're seeing, I think, a little bit of consolidation. Not as much as I think people thought, a couple of years ago with the FDA stuff that we would see a lot of consolidation and stuff, but we've seen a little bit of it happening. Like, what's your goal for your own brand though? Is it to continue to build it up? Is it to eventually, sell it? Is it to, you know, increase this philanthropic mission that you
Aspect.
have?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. That do you want
No,
to
I
tackle
would
it?
say, yeah, the philanthropic aspect is the most important part to keep it in that loop, in that pipeline. It's not going to go out of its way. That's going to carry on. We do have cigars aging and waiting for the release already. We blended them. We are ready, but we don't want to come up with a cigar every year and just for the sake of having cigar every year, a new blend every year that we just want to go in the mass production. We already have a new release every year for lodges which
Mm-hmm.
are limited edition. Some of them they were so on demand that we stopped doing it as unlimited, so we produced them
As a
for
core line.
the core line. One of them is the Unity. This one, it was 2020, right? 2020.
2019.
2019, sorry, Unity. So it was high demand for it, and it's one of the, again, most loved cigars. Everybody has a certain cigar that, oh my God, I've smoked one time the Unity, it's the best, and it's music to our ears because, you still, one blend that you want to always smoke again, and that's amazing. Most again, the next cigar is coming for the Grandmaster. We have a Grandmaster series, which is coming to each lodge of each state.
Grand Lodge.
That's one of the Grand Lodges, yeah, plan. We say we already have in New Jersey four of them. We have North Carolina, the one I'm smoking here, the Revival. We have Georgia, and the demand is high. Even Hawaii and a lot of states are interested because of the charity that comes with it. So the Grandmaster series is directly sold for the charity, and the proceeds will go, part of the proceeds will go to the charity of that Grand Lodge. Now, for the core line, yes, we do have a lot of upcoming cigars. One of them is, I wouldn't say what's the blend. It's kind of, I mean, yeah, a lot of blends coming. One of them is a Cameroon, which was very hard to create. It's one of the most complex cigars that we've created, waiting, aging, because again, we age them more than a year. It's never the same after a year. Sometimes they would tell you, oh, it's 6 months, it's good. When you're doing the first blend, you need to wait a year before you definitely know that that cigar is stable, and every aroma in that cigar, from the moment you created it to the moment it's on the shelf, probably more than a year. Not
Is it
we
is
hope
the
it's not
same
on the
or
shelf.
better? Yeah.
It's the same or better, or maybe it's staying in your humidor and you want to enjoy it after a year just because you had a box of it. So we take that into consideration, all of these cigars. So our blends are aging, waiting for us to just put them in the
So
market.
I mean, it's not secret. We've been approached twice to consolidate, or somebody come to buy us. They did not fit what we're looking for. Again, we refused the offers. Uh, will in the future we will entertain any consolidation or purchasing. We're always open to look and to see what continues, as long as the company will stay in the same philanthropic purpose that it's existed for, and we have one way or another some kind of say to it, to what to create and what philanthropic and stuff like this. So we are open for consolidation as long as it fits our profit. It's not, we continue growing organically as we are, as we did so far in the 10 years, for the next hopefully 10 years to come, and 20 and 30 years to come, for our children to take over. And this way we create the legends of the generations after us being the
It's
first
never just
generation.
because of the finances that the approach was turned back or turned over or not taken. It was
Mhm.
mainly also because of the image and the dream that we had behind this whole
Company.
business, a company. Yes, I would say.
Yeah, and I definitely, like I said, what I loved about your story is the philanthropic aspect, because not a lot of companies, I think there are a lot of cigar companies that do a lot of good, but that story doesn't always get told. And so I'm happy that we were able to spend almost 50 minutes now kind of talking about the story rather than all the questions that I think people can get from you all from other interviews about the Brotherhood and Mason and stuff like that from other interviews that are out
Absolutely.
there. Um,
We participate in a lot of events that are non-Masonic. One of them, like the Firefighters Associations, or a town that has their own,
The police,
the
PBA,
police, anything. And when they tell us, like, "Oh my God, we did we did the raffle, and the box was sold for I don't know, 800. We went up to 1200 one time recently, and nobody's doing it. The person who's buying it, he is also there to do that part
yeah,
of
he
it.
knows he
So
can
right.
buy it for
he knows he
300 or
can buy
five.
it for 200, $300 in the market, but he just, it's like a domino effect, right? You give away that, somebody's auctioning, somebody's creating a whole how would you say, a whole financial situation to help, whether it's the police, whether it's a firefighter, anything. They don't have to be masons when we do that. And or a child in need, that some I don't know, sometimes it happened that there was a little school somewhere and there was an ill child that needed some support, and the ladies just contacted us by email telling us, there is this situation, can you be of any help? And we send boxes of cigars with some raffles, and they always send us beautiful notes of, like, we made this much and this went to this charity. It's amazing, right? It's just tiny little participation or involvement from our side, but that's big. It goes like,
Yeah,
it's
we know we cannot solve the problem of the world, but
as
we
much as
can
we can.
participate as far as our capacity to do our part in it. And I know many other people doing as much as we're doing and way much more.
We
So
trust a lot of people when they approach us. Some of them more or less, I would say. But like Rod is one of our Mason friends who doesn't, who works for us literally. no salary, nothing. He's just passionate about charity. And every time we are not able to attend an event, specifically in the Masonic events I'm talking. So we were at the Shriners Convention, and Rod was telling me there is this charity. I will let you know ahead of time. Are you ready to participate? I go like, Rod, listen to me. You've been with us for not just like what 5 6 years now, 7 years.
Probably,
Rod
yeah.
is in the company, and I said, listen, all you have to tell me, just send me an email or a text message and tell me, Romy, send this 2 3 1 whatever boxes to this address. I trust you. I don't want to think that somebody's cheating on me for a box or two or two of cigars. We trust these people, and then we know they are there also. This guy doesn't make a penny out of it. Maybe he puts out of his pocket to attend some of the events, but if he can see that this company can do something for that association, yes, we are there. You know, we let it sometimes like a family kind of thing. If your brother tells you, hey brother, I need to send this much, can you? Yeah, we can. If we cannot, we would say no. But we don't want to go behind it, who is there, who is not doing, who's paying his taxes. Just tell us what company, what association sent the cigars.
Do you do? And this is a question for either of you or both. Do you have a philosophy that you live by,
Oh yeah, again, the
or live
philosophy.
or work by? I should ask.
We the philosophy is never stop at obstacle. Just carry on. I would always say just walk and carry on. Continue. The philosophy is it's not killing us, it's making us stronger. Like if the biggest challenge was again during the pandemic whether we want to continue or not, and we took that big decision to carry on, we did. And it comes with a
Yeah.
lot of obstacles at the same time, but you just move the obstacles. You have to see beyond it. That's why I would look at the
Me,
future all the
yeah,
time.
me coming from the retail business, and this is one way or another, it's a retail also. I learned one philosophy that you can only succeed by respecting your competition. So we respect our competition. We look at them. We learn from them also, the same way they do. I'm sure they do the same. We don't envy them. We don't. So we actually applaud when they
We
do
envy
something
their
right.
passion. We envy their perseverance,
Yes.
their vision.
So we respect our competition. That's the only way we can succeed.
Mostly, we respect our smokers. Everyone who ever smoked a Hiram Solomon, we have high respect for these people because at the moment you go into the humidor to buy, or you go to the shop, you want to buy a cigar, and
You have the choice.
you have that choice,
You have the
and
choice.
you're choosing this one. That's a big respect already. You know, that moment you're choosing with all your senses what you want to smoke. Whether it's the salesperson who's trying to convince you what to buy, or yourself choosing this, or because you've been watching some episodes here and there, or listening to some podcasts, and you're
People relate to stories. People relate to
Hmm.
the cause, and we find that to be very successful in our case, where people after listening, let's say to your episode, they're gonna go and when they see that cigar there, they're gonna grab it and they're gonna smoke it. Now they do it once if the cigar is not a good cigar. So having that history, having that story, having that philanthropy combined with the good cigar, that's a success. So I don't want the customer to pick up just because we donate to charity. I want him to enjoy that cigar also. I want him to feel that when he paid that price for the cigar, it was worth his time, it was worth his passion, it was worth his emotions to put in that cigar. So that's where our I believe our success comes is and with the support of the Masons, yes, that helped us grow faster. But as Romy mentioned before, that success goes so far if you're not creating something that it's worth for them to go back and say, I enjoyed that cigar before. Let me pick up another one, or let me recommend it to my friend and or to my to somebody that I know. So
also
that's
respecting all the people involved in the showcasing of this cigar and our business. Let's say, like you, 2 days ago, the day before yesterday, we had another live on Facebook, and these people, they're giving us their time. You giving us a platform. Whoever, I mean, that's a big thing. People tell us, "Aren't you tired?" Like this afternoon, I was saying to my friend, I'm going to be away. Don't call me because I have a live with Deep Cut Live." And she was, "How do you do this?" How I go like we don't think of how do we do this. We think of how do they do this. You're just doing it for the pleasure and the passion of your of your, how to say, hobby. I would say, even if not more than a hobby for most people. So this is also the respect we give. We give away for their time. We want to be participating also in their raffles, because it's not just a promotional event. Sometimes we're just talking about our lives, our future, our passion, our targets. You see, it's amazing how much respect is mutually given between you now and us, and giving our smokers, our consumers, the proper idea about what's behind the smoke they're going to get.
Definitely. Like I said, I've enjoyed learning more about you all and Hiram Solomon today. And for the last question for this part of the interview, and if you've seen Deep Cuts, you probably know what the question is, but I want you to finish the sentence. And since it's two of you, I'm going to alter the question a little bit. So I want you to finish the sentence. Hiram and Solomon is.
That's a very tricky question. Is our dream? Is our dream
Awesome.
achievement? It's our achievement. We've done a lot. I'm 53, turning 54 soon, and when you realize that all you do in your life, in your little left of the life, whatever is left in the future, is mostly planned and targeted and aspire to make this whole passion grow bigger and bigger, which is every single day, whether we just sit and smoke, whether we plan, whether we're in the office working, sometimes over 18 hours a day. But you don't give up. So yes, it is our dream. It is our dream to make it even bigger and reach to our target, which is philanthropy 100%. That's it. That's how Hiram Solomon's vision is for us. It's a vision.
Now, for those people who are not watching this, but maybe listening to the episode, can you tell them what website and social media they need to follow in order to keep up with Hiram and Solomon?
Yes, we have our Instagram and we have our Facebook, Hiram and Solomon Cigars, on both of them, Instagram. And we have our website, which mainly it's a informative website, because we don't sell directly to consumers. It's but the website has all the information about our retailers. We do sell limited items on our website, which are the limited releases, because they're tied to charity. So those are the ones that we sell directly to consumers, but not all our cigars. There's only two or three cigars, three
Again, out
cigars
of respect
on
for
that.
our retailers.
And that's, yes, out of respect for our retailers, because we don't compete with our retailers. So they can get the information on our website, our story, our cigars, our retailers. On Instagram, they can follow us, and on Facebook, definitely.
There are lots of groups also created
And
around Hiram Solomon.
our biggest group on Facebook, Hiram and Solomon Friends. So they
Okay.
can join, and they can share, they can learn, they can ask questions, they can, and we're always reachable. Uh, my cell phone is on the website, so people get surprised with that when I answer. And it's like, what's your name? My name is Fouad. You're the owner of the company, yes?
That's
So
how much we love what we're doing.
so my cell phone is on the website, and I answer every call. I answer every text, and our email is on the website. So anybody wishes to learn more or wants to understand more, they're welcome to log in
To
and
reach out.
reach
Yeah.
out and at any moment.
Well, I want to thank you both for being on the show today. And I want you to sit tight because we have two more things that we need to do before we're done for today. But thank you all for watching and listening. And if you missed any of this episode or want to catch up on any of the other 151 or so episodes of Deep Cuts Live that are out there at this point, you can do so at youtube.com/deepcutslive and just hit the subscribe or follow button on whatever social media platform you're on to be kept up to date on any new lives and episodes that might come out. And so
thank you again for your time and for the opportunity to bring us in front of your followers. And the final message from me to them is for the smokers to do their job fighting the government for our freedom of smoke. Please join Cigars Rights of America, PCA. Do your job reaching to your politician, expressing to them that smoking cigars is different than cigarette and other tobacco product. So protect your freedom. Don't rely on somebody else doing it. Everyone needs to do their job. It's very important.
And that's a great message to end on. So if you are not having a good day,